Hi, welcome to MLB Tonight. He's Yonder Alonso. I'm Robert Flores. Ahead this hour, details on a brand new radio show featuring yours truly and Yonder. Can't wait for that. But let's begin with Juan Soto and his free agency decision that figures to alter the landscape of Major League Baseball. According to The Athletic, Juan Soto has begun the process of mulling over the offers and eliminating teams, and that the bids that he's received have reached at least $600 million and beyond. Now, we do know that the teams publicly linked to Soto are the Yankees, the Mets, the Blue Jays, the Dodgers. However, it's not clear, Yonder, which team or teams are the leader in the clubhouse, what they've made. Where do you want to go first here?
That's the risk, right? And I think if you're a GM or if you're an owner, you're thinking, okay, we're at 600 if that's true. It's a lot of coin, and I have to think about what the future lies for a guy like Soto, or getting a guy like Soto. Doesn't necessarily line up with the rest of that roster. Soto is on a combined different level, kind of like Shohei. If you're going to give him that type of coin, you're expected to have a great
26 years old.
26 years old. You're thinking this deal is going to be over 10 years long.
At least.
And for me, it's just which team is more suitable to have a guy like Soto. The problem that I have with this road flow is the type of teams that are in on this right now. And the reasons I say that is because if you don't get a guy like Juan Soto, it's not the end of the world. There's still many options out there. And some teams may even say, I don't necessarily think it's worth that money or that player to go get him for so long in a period of year. You can, for me, the quantity over quality is more important. I'd much rather have that money and get 5-6 quality players that are going to get me to the World Series in the next 5 years 2 or 3 times, or have a chance to win it, than to per se having an incredible player for the next 12 years.
Well, I'm glad you bring that up, because we've compiled the list. There's 20 players that have had a contract in excess of $250 million, okay? 5 of the 20 players that have contracts that large have won a World Series. And 3 of them were on the Dodgers last year: Ohtani, Betts, Yamamoto. The other 2, Corey Seager, former Dodger, he won it with the Texas Rangers in 2023, and Alex Rodriguez, who won with the New York Yankees in 2009. So there's some other great names on this list: Aaron Judge, Machado, Tatis, Trey Turner, Xander Bogaerts, Nolan Arenado, Rafi Devers, Garrett Cole, Mike Trout. They haven't won a World Series.
And the reason for that, because it locks you up to going to go get more guys, right? Like, the Dodgers they're an outlier. They're the unicorn of our game right now, where they're getting 3 or 4 guys and they can still go get more guys.
They're playing fantasy baseball.
Right. It's completely different. When you've got a team, per se, like Toronto, Boston, right, the Yankees, they're a little bit more limited in that source. You're only going to get that player, and then does it open up the windows to go get more players in that status?
I'm glad you mentioned the Toronto Blue Jays, because you said something interesting in our production meeting. You think that the Blue Jays need Juan Soto. Of all those teams that we mentioned publicly linked, you think the Blue Jays maybe need him the most.
And I think it makes the most sense because it's one team in one country. Right? You understand the buyback you're going to get for a player like Juan Soto in one country that loves that team, the Toronto Blue Jays. It's immenseful, right? It's just like saying Shohei Ohtani and what he brings to our game, not only here, but internationally in Japan. I see it that certain way as well. Now, the winning side of it all, you've got a one go-to go-get guy, right? You got Juan Soto, you got Bo Bichette, you got Vlad, you got Varsho in center field, you got Kirk catching. Now, all of a sudden, you can spin the baseball just enough. You can go get a couple other guys. Now you're looking at yourself by saying, hey, we have a chance here to compete in the American League. And if we saw something in the postseason, Roflo, we saw that the American League was a little softer than the National League. So it felt like anybody at any given moment could get to the World Series. Why not the Toronto Blue Jays if it makes all the sense of the world financially?
On the flip side, you think if the New York Yankees miss out on Juan Soto, and it's not the end of the world. How come?
I don't think it's the end of the world. First of all, I personally think that the Yankees need a lot more than just Juan Soto. Look, they struggled in their bullpen all year. They struggled with their rotation staying healthy. I felt, for me, the Yankees and their athleticism has been a disaster for numerous years. And if you're going to go get a guy like this, you better have a guy that's going to steal 20, 25 bags. I would like to see the Yankees get more athletic. I would like to see the Yankees clear up some or answer some holes that they've had. Even though they got to the World Series, it was a great year for the Yankees. But for me, they need to answer the bell when it comes to athleticism. Their defense was a falter at times. You know, and for me, besides Jazz and Volpe, who else is going to steal bags for that team? And the game right now, you need speed. There's no question about it. Not just a home run, but getting on base and scoring runs.
Well, if obviously Juan Soto's decision is going to be one that will be headline making, but there are going to be teams that will be left disappointed. And for those teams, where do they go from here? How do they begin to pivot away from Juan Soto if he does not choose them? Earlier today on Hot Stove, Harold Reynolds and Steve Phillips discussed that very scenario. Check this out.
We run the number up to $600 million. All right, Steve Phillips is negotiating. You know you had $600 million. Are you able now to turn to the owner and say, well, we were going to use $600. Can I go get 4 or 5 other players with that 6? Right. Or does he say that was a one-time opportunity?
Most owners will say, well, listen, we were spreading that out over 15 years, so I'm not going to give you $600 million to spend over the next 5 years. You could take that $45 million AAV and start to bring me in some other players to build the team. And I'll say, yeah, but we needed other guys in addition to Soto, so it was his 45 plus more. Do I have $70 million, $80 million now to spend on it?
So just some interesting insight on possibly what some owners are thinking, maybe what some front offices that are thinking that ultimately don't land Juan Soto. The answer, Yonder, could be let Juan Soto play for every team throughout the season. You know, one week he's a Yankee, another week he's a Dodger, but I doubt that he'll go for that. At the same time, for the teams that do miss out on Juan Soto, where can they go? Give me some corner outfield alternatives that maybe these teams that don't end up with Juan Soto, they could begin to pursue.
Well, I'm hopeful that the owners will tell the GMs, hey, you still have a little bit of coin to go spend in the offseason. And there's a lot of examples, right? There's a lot of guys that you can go get. And we can start with Teoscar Hernandez. I mean, this guy was unbelievable, hit 33 home runs. Where would the Dodgers have been if Teoscar Hernandez was
probably not in the World
May
Series
and June, right? There was a lot of guys banged up. Well, guess what? Teoscar Hernandez was pivotal to the Dodgers season being able to go win a 98 games because this guy was protecting, if not all 4 of those guys. Anthony Santander, for me, is a guy that's very tricky, right? He's a switch hitter. He's a guy that hits the long ball, can still play really good outfield. He's got an absolute cannon, and he's been there. He's played in big games. The World Baseball Classic with a big home run in 2023. He's done it. Tyler O'Neill, for me, is a guy that's tricky, right? He led the Boston Red Sox in slug and home runs. He crushes left-handers. I think this guy is a weapon. Look, you look at Tyler O'Neill, he was only making $5.85 million. How about Jerickson Profar? He did it in a big yard. He's a switch hitter. He's got the smile. He's got the edge on him. Playing left field, he can play a little right. He can do it all for you. This guy, nobody wanted him in 2024. He was playing for $1 million. $1 million. There is hope for other teams. How about Jock Peterson? Somebody needs to have this guy. At times during the year, people were thinking, he's got to play every day. I know he was smashing against right-handers, but this guy has done it. He's played over 80 games in the postseason, so this guy understands the aura. He understands what it takes. He understands the pressure to be able to succeed and deliver. I think all of these 5 guys right here, they've done it, and they've proven and they've answered the bell that whoever gets them, they're in for a bargain because it's going to be coins compared to what they're going to have to pay Soto.
Yeah, so these are the numbers that these players and their contract in 2024 were playing under. Now, these numbers, especially in the, for most of them, they want multiple years and they want a bump in salary, but they're not going to get $600 million over 10 to 12 years.
What is Jerickson Profar going to be worth, right? Is he going to be worth 10
He's
to
definitely
15
worth more than $1 million.
Okay, 15. But is that better than 50 a year?
That's true.
For a guy hitting me 24 and playing every day, a guy like Anthony Santander, a guy like Teoscar Hernandez, who we saw now in the postseason do big things for the Dodgers.
Yeah.
For me, it makes all the sense to go get a guy like that and then go fill up some other holes.
If you're one of those players on that graphic there, are you basically saying once Juan Soto makes a decision, then my market, then the conversation surrounding me and myself and my family, that will start to take front and center?
Yes and no. I think when you look at a guy like Juan Soto, he's on his own. Right, he's in deep waters. These players aren't in such deep waters. These guys are in a little bit more of a warmer weather type of players where their money and their line of years is going to be completely different. Right. But again, those teams need to call. And right now, the only concern is on that big horse in Soto.
Well, the winter meetings, of course, will be in Dallas next week. MLB Network will be wall-to-wall coverage with that. And whenever Juan Soto makes his decision, you can bet MLB Network will be all over it. We'll break into programming. In fact, I'm on call this weekend. I'll be here in studio just waiting for Juan Soto to make his decision. Speaking of Soto and speaking of the Dodgers, the defending champs are off to an amazing start this offseason. What could the rest of the teams in that division?
Dodgers a strike away from a championship, from a proper celebration. Start the party, Los Angeles! Your Dodgers have won the World Series!
That's it! It's a World Series win for LA! They've done it! They've finished the job and give Los Angeles the parade it's been waiting for!
Oh my, world champion!
Man, it's been quite a few months for the Los Angeles Dodgers. They win the World Series at Yankee Stadium. Then, after spending $1 billion last year in free agency, they've already spent over $250 million in free agency. We're not even at the winter meetings. Earlier today on Hot Stove, Matt Vasgersian offered these thoughts on the Blue World Order.
Two things on that. First of all, the Dodgers are turning into the Harlem Globetrotters, and the rest of the league is the Washington Generals. Really. I mean, they're putting together a roster of not just stars, super-duper stars here. Yeah. And it's going to put a target squarely on their back. If people in San Francisco and San Diego didn't like the Dodgers before, imagine the animosity directed their way now. Second take that I have on that is that I forgot what I was going to say.
It happens. I have been there. So, you know, keeping up with the Kardashians when it's all said and done people will look at that as the signal, as the end of Western civilization. So with a tip of the cap to the Kardashians, let's do keeping up with the Dodgers NL West division. All right, let's go team by team here. How do the other teams in this division compete? And let's start with the San Diego Padres, a team that beat the Dodgers in the postseason a couple of years ago, and yonder they had them on the ropes this year.
Well, yeah, a team that was very feared in that NL West, right? You've heard in the past, even Dave Roberts saying, we felt like this was the World Series. Yeah. We felt like the Padres had the upper hand.
Hernandez said the Padres were the best team in baseball.
Yeah, and I think for me, they need pitching. Right, I think with Joe Musgrove being out for a majority of the year, Tommy John, they need Sasaki. I think that's the go-to guy. They need maybe a guy like Max Fried. They need to figure out the outfield situation, who's going to play left for them, and how about shortstop, right? You had Xander Bogaerts play a little bit. You had Kim play a little bit. Who's going to be the guy?
Kim is a free agent.
He's a free agent. So I think for me, the catching, the shortstop, and who's pitching will be a majority key for the Padres.
All right, we got this tweet here regarding Roki Sasaki. Several industry sources believe the Padres are in a strong position to land Japanese ace Roki Sasaki. And obviously, he is linked to the Dodgers because Shohei Ohtani, but Yu Darvish certainly carries a lot of weight here. Dylan Cease, I believe he's going into his walk here. Michael King was a revelation coming over for the Yankees. You add Sasaki to this, yonder, and this is quite a formidable rotation.
Yeah, I really like the young guys, too, and Randy Vasquez and Matt Waldron. I think being able to pitch last year in some meaningful innings will be huge for the Padres moving forward in the future. But Sasaki is a guy that now you slot him into that number 2. Michael King, Darvish was phenomenal when he came back. I think this guy in Roki Sasaki is going to be very special. And if the Padres get him, I would say it's a 50-50 chance. It's either the Padres or the Dodgers, right? Those are the two guys and the two horses that are trying to get this guy right now. But whoever does get him, he's going to be phenomenal.
Michael King is also entering his walk year, so something to keep in mind. Let's talk about the team that won the National League pennant in 2023, the Arizona Diamondbacks. They missed out on the postseason last year. They, too, have some free agents. Christian Walker, he's going to be a coveted free agent as well. Where do the Diamondbacks go here to compete with the Dodgers in that division?
You can go get the lower-tier guys, the number 2s and the number 3s to make sure you bolster that roster into who you are. They're very athletic. We know that. But can they stay healthy? If they can stay healthy, that's going to be a major win for the Arizona Diamondbacks. They weren't able to stay healthy at all. If you look at all these huge injuries, Rodriguez, Merrill Kelly, Alex Thomas, Paul Seward, who was their closer, Christian Walker with the oblique, although he's a free agent. They need to stay healthy, and no question about it. Look, it's no question, and there's no secret here. The best division in baseball right now is the National League West.
Yeah.
But to be able to do that, you have to be able to compete on the field. That means you have to stay healthy.
You know which team scored the most runs in all of baseball last season?
That team.
The Arizona Diamondbacks. Yep. So you're right. Health is a premium. Be interesting to see what they do through the rest of the hot stove. And look at this, just to reinforce the point, 866 runs. 886. Boy, I need glasses. But unfortunately, Yonder, they were not.
Merrill Kelly, Eduardo Rodriguez, Paul Seward. I mean, all these guys were hit by the bug. And it was early on, right? These guys signed late. Some of them did, and they just weren't able to just continue to urge.
I think, you know, I don't know what the status of the relationship is right now between Jordan Montgomery and the team and the front office. I think if it's the Diamondbacks or any other team, I think they're going to get a rejuvenated and determined Jordan Montgomery next season.
I think as a player, the ownership and front office doesn't necessarily need to take that confidence away. And it's very simple. As a player, if you succeed and if you put up numbers, you have a voice. And when you don't, you kind of have to be quiet, get ready in the postseason, and make sure you show out on the mound.
All right, let's talk about the San Francisco Giants. Buster Posey is now calling the shots. Take a look at what they did in 2024. 2 games below 500. Obviously, they lose Blake Snell to the Dodgers. Their needs, depth in the outfield, starting pitching, and then up the middle.
Look, I think for me, it's up the middle like you're talking about. Kim will be an ideal guy to have a shortstop if the Padres can't hold on to him. But for me as well as starting pitching. And the tricky part about this is what Buster Posey's going to do and who he is and who he was as a player, right? This is a very athletic player. This is a guy that went to Florida State, was a shortstop, pitched some in college, and then was a catcher, a premier catcher at that Hall of Famer in my book. So for me, is how you're going to go about it. When I would play the Giants during my days, all athletic guys, right, including Buster Posey with that good pitching. I would think right now, if you're the San Francisco Giants, you're thinking, I'm not going for slug. I want to basically have a roster kind of built like the Kansas City Royals, but put them in a Giants uniform in a Giants stadium. They can run, they can play defense, and they can pitch. If they can do those things, the Giants have to be able to win those 2-1 games, those 3-1 games, kind of like when Buster Posey was there. That's what they did. They grinded you out for 9 innings. I would think and expect that Buster Posey, that's his motto, and that's how he's going to go attack all these free agents.
Corbin Burns seems like a great fit.
He's from there. He's from around the corner.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, the Colorado Rockies, as you take a look at Corbin Burns, and that's just a natural fit there. But I like what you're talking about. Let's build the rotation. Let's be athletic. Let's be sound defensively. Let's put the ball in play. And try to get it that way. And that is what the formula that they used when Buster Posey was there and they were winning titles.
100%, Roflo. We don't have to reinvent the wheel in baseball. I don't think so just yet. I think for me, it's about getting 27
This isn't bad here.
Putting pressure on the defense and putting pressure on the opposing offense. This right here, like you're saying, Logan Webb, Robbie Ray, Jordan Hicks, Kyle Harrison was fantastic for them. They need to be able to get at least one more piece. For me, it comes down to pressure. Who were the Giants? When we went there, we had to play solid baseball because these guys could run the bases, they can steal, and they can definitely pitch.
Yeah. Now, as I always say, no disrespect to the Colorado Rockies. They're in a different phase of their franchise development. I love Ezekiel Tovar, Charlie Blackmon saying goodbye, but this is, like you said, arguably the toughest division in all of baseball.
You never know what happens in Colorado. I've seen a lot of teams go there, and you think you're going to take 3 from them, and all of a sudden, you're walking out of there losing 2 out of 3.
You're absolutely right. Let's step aside.
皆さん、いかがでしたか？今回の話題、ホアン・ソト選手の自由契約をめぐる議論、そして彼の選択が MLB 全体に与える影響を深く掘り下げることができたと思います。ホアン・ソト選手は、現在の MLB で最も注目される若手スター選手の一人であり、彼のような選手がどのチームに加入するかは、単にそのチームの強さだけでなく、リーグ全体の勢力図を変える可能性があります。まさに MLB の未来を左右するような決断であり、その結果を私たちファンが見守るのは、なんともエキサイティングな時間です。 外選手のようなスター選手が1人いるだけで、チーム全体が持つ可能性が劇的に変わることは明らかです。特にブルージェイズのようなチームは、彼を獲得することで一気に勢いを増し、アメリカンリーグでのトップ争いに乗りを上げることができるでしょう。ブルージェイズはカナダ唯一の MLB チームとして国全体の期待を背負っています。ホアン・ソト選手が加入することでカナダ中のファンが結束し、彼らの試合に熱狂する姿が目に浮かびます。それによりブルージェイズの市場価値がさらに高まり、カナダ全土での野球人気を押し上げる効果も期待できます。一方で、ヤンキースが外選手を逃したとしても、大きな問題ではないという意見も説得力があります。ヤンキースは長年、強力な打線と資金力を武器にしてきましたが、最近のシーズンでは、守備の不安定さや選手の健康問題が浮き彫りになっています。そのため、彼らには外選手だけでなく、より多くのポジションでチーム全体の強化が必要とされています。スピードと柔軟性を重視した選手を揃えることが、これからのヤンキースにとって重要なポイントになるでしょう。また、ホアン・ソト選手の移籍先がどこになるかで、その後の市場動向がどう変わるのかも非常に興味深いところです。例えば、外選手を獲得できなかったチームが、次にどの選手をターゲットにするかという話題も目が離せません。オスカー・ヘルナンデスやアンソニー・サンタンダー、ジョック・ピーターソンといった選手たちが次の選択肢として注目されるのは当然です。彼らのような選手を合理的なコストで獲得することで、他のチームも競争力を高めることができます。特に、サンタンダー選手のスイッチヒッターとしての能力や、ヘルナンデス選手のパワフルなバッティングは、チームにとって非常に魅力的なオプションとなるでしょう。さらに、ドジャースのように常に次元の違うチームであり続ける存在が、他チームに与える影響も見逃せません。ドジャースは、これまで多くのスター選手を迎え入れ、現在もその勢いを保っています。彼らが持つ資金力と戦略は、他のチームから見ると圧倒的ですが、その存在がリーグ全体の競争を激化させていることも事実です。このような強力なライバルがいることで、他のチームも新たな方法で挑戦し、リーグ全体のレベルが引き上げられているのかもしれません。そして、外選手の決断を見守る中で、MLB の他のチーム、例えば、パドレスやダイヤモンドバックス、ジャイアンツがどのようにチームを強化していくのかにも注目です。パドレスが若手選手をどう活用し、ロキ・佐々木のような国際的なスター選手を獲得することでどれだけ競争力を高められるか、あるいはダイヤモンドバックスが選手の健康管理を改善しながらチームを再建するかなど、それぞれのチームが直面する課題とその解決策を見ていくのも非常に楽しみです。このように MLB の移籍市場やチームの戦略を考えるだけで、その奥深さと魅力に引き込まれるばかりです。野球は単なるスポーツの枠を超え、多くの人々を結びつけ、感動を共有する力を持っています。そして、ホアン・ソト選手の選択が私たちにどれだけ新たな興奮をもたらすのか、これからの展開を心待ちにしたいと思います。もし、この動画や話題が気に入ったら、ぜひコメントで感想を教えてください。あなたの意見や、どのチームが外話を獲得すべきかについての考えを共有していただけると嬉しいです。そして、いいねボタンを押して、チャンネル登録もお忘れなく。最新の MLB ニュースや試合情報をお届けし、これからも一緒に MLB の魅力を楽しみましょう。それでは、また次回お会いしましょう。